eye. I love the colorful clothes she wears and the way the sunlight plays upon her hair. I hear the sound of a gentle word on the wind that lifts her perfume through the air. I'm picking up vibrations, she's giving me excitation. I'm picking up good vibrations, my excitation. I'm picking up good vibrations, giving me excitation. I'm picking up good vibrations.
Good. Look at these vegetables you've got for me.
Oh, hey, Paul Runyon with Sail On here. Do a little rig rundown here at the Buford Community Center in Buford, Georgia. Check out what these guys got going on stage. Bring those sweet sounds to you. I think we're going to start out with a little guitar here from one of the guitar players in Sail On. I think this might be his tech right here. I'm not sure. Who are you, sir?
That's right. I'm the tech for Matt Thompson. My name's Matt Thompson. How you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. I usually get here pretty early and set up all the stuff the way Matt likes it, but I can show you whatever you want.
Well, let's first start out with your axe here, man.
Oh yeah.
What are you rolling with here? This is your number one right here?
This is Matt's number one. Yeah, so this is a mid-2000 Fender Stratocaster Deluxe American made. Very nice. He's been playing this for, gosh, at least 13 years, maybe more.
All right, everything stock on it? I mean, nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Oh yeah. No tricks.
No
Pretty
tricks.
Straight ahead. And to be honest, I'm gonna stop that. That's done. I'm keeping the pickup right in the middle. This is the only pickup I use pretty much the whole show. And
Okay.
a lot of people, for some reason, don't like this pickup, but for this show, it's kind of Goldilocks between these two.
And as far as
So-
tone on the guitar, where are you keeping your tone knobs as far as, I mean?
I don't really mess with it too much. I'll roll this down a little bit, but the Beach Boys just play a straight Fender sound, and that's, it's not that hard to dial up really, but it gets tricky with different parts here and there.
Yeah.
So I'll play something that maybe is just standard, and then we'll go through the
Yeah, something clean. That's
yes.
just,
Yeah. So you got first. Here's my clean tone. We just. Nothing fancy, but then say we got like, wouldn't it be nice? Have to be a little more decorative. So we have a reverb patch built with a little octave above, give it some shimmer. And
yeah, I see you got this pod, this Line 6 pod here. I guess you use this instead of kind of amps on stage for ease of setup and, getting
Exactly.
consistent sounds and whatnot.
yeah, so that's something people don't really understand when they first see the setup. They say, where are the amps? We're just using these pod HD 500s, and everything is programmed. So it's pretty simple to just switch between things for each song. But it's built up to be like a Bassman, a 59 Bassman,
Okay.
essentially.
So something that would, an amp sound that would be period corrected,
That's exactly
that
right.
works for it, yeah.
That's exactly right. So you have a clean sound, which we already showed you, a dirty channel that's barely dirty for things like Do It Again,
Just a little bit, nothing too overly.
little bite. We have a Roto speaker we can kick on that, just a Leslie cabinet, and that's more for like the instrumental pet sounds. I don't think there's too much more than that, really. There's a fuzz face, which only comes out maybe once. Again, for the same song, we get a little fuzz solo.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we have one more pedal I'll show you. So it's this guy. This is a really cool Digitech pedal that is a 12-string emulator, and I love it because it sounds like the 60s. So my favorite thing I get to do on that all night, I keep the tone pretty hot and the level right around 3 o'clock, so it goes. There's a little tremolo here that comes out on maybe songs like In My Room, but very subtle.
Just add a little ambiance, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, very simple.
Sounds great.
So it's the classic Fender sounds, just made easier and a lot lighter with this Pod HD 500.
Well, that's awesome. Well, it looks like you do have another guitar sitting here. Looks like you got a second guitar here. Do you use this at all during the show, or is this just kind of a backup, or what is this right now?
Yeah, so right now this is a backup guitar, and you'll notice this is a Fender Squier Stratocaster, but you know, it feels great, plays great, and it sounds fine. It doesn't really sound to me like we're missing too much, because again, it's a classic Fender sound. It's Olympic white originally, that was issued maybe 69, so it's kind of later 60s stuff. At some point, this might be with maybe some switched out pickups. We may make this a number 2 guitar for maybe the later years. So right now, it's just backup.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, Matt. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Matt from Sail On, everybody.
It's been so it's been so long. Hey now, 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 hey now. Well, I've been thinking about all the places we surfed and danced and all the faces we missed. So let's get back together and do it again. Come and do it.
All right, guys, we're back here with Ben Potter, drums, Sail On.
Happy to be here.
Yes, thank you. Just talk about kind of what you got going on during the show back here.
Well, typical kit. This is actually a Mapex 7.5.
Oh,
Yeah, I got 3 different companies' symbols because I like that, you know. I have Sabian, Paiste, and Zildjian right there.
well, you did diversity in sound.
Exactly, yeah.
You know,
Uh-huh.
you don't want to be too.
Yep.
Yeah.
These are the 2 fun parts. So I think there's 3, 4 different songs that I play these on. Mostly this. They're very fun. As far as drums go, that's pretty much it. I got my tambourine here for the variety of the Beach Boys tambourine sounds, especially California Girls and Help Me Rhonda. That's where that comes into play mostly. And then my baby.
What do you
right
got
here.
going on over here?
This is where I get, for instance, Do It Again has a loop. I'll just play it right now, see if you guys can hear it. So that'll run throughout the whole thing behind the drums, just to add that cool sound that the song actually has. And then little percussion things like a hop sound in my room, things like that. Nothing too intense, just little things that I can't, because we can't, you know, play a hop, or we can't, do things like that.
Well, but at least you're still, you're playing your drum beat, and you still have to, you still have to play it. You know what I mean? It's not just like something that's, in a, stock track or
Yeah.
whatever. You still have to hit it at the right time and kind of do things. So it just adds a little touch. But at least you're.
Yeah,
you
so
still-
like Catch a Wave has another hop sound, I'll be playing and I have to go like that, and then so it's basically just another drum to hit. It just happens to be
just adding
7
those little
different drum kits in
elements
one.
that
Yeah.
make it all come together. So Roland.
SPD-SX.
SPD-SX, if
The
anybody's
standard.
wondering.
It's the standard for anything that is needed by this. It can do anything you want. It has 100 different banks. Do you put thousands of different sounds on? You can do whatever. I have some dialogue that I attach to the same one, and then everything else just starts from the left and kind of goes on. There are 9 different drums, 9 different pads to hit.
And you
then-
find it pretty
easy.
self-explanatory
Yeah,
and easy.
Pretty
once you kinda-
self-explanatory. Yep. As long everyone can do their own thing. I usually start if the beginning of the song calls for something. I'll start here, and then work my way over. I don't use many of these for this one because we don't use this a lot for the show.
Right.
So most things are just every set, every like drum set on this is gonna be the top 3.
Okay. Talking about you were talking about these 2 guys right here. Is there any kind of part you can show how you kind of have to incorporate that as far as playing and hitting those, or?
Yeah. So the most probably the three most notable songs would be Sloop with both of them, which is just starts off with a
Yeah.
and then runs through the whole first two verses, I think. And then Pet Sounds, you have the I was trying to make a tambourine go as well at the same time, but trying to be quiet for the microphone.
It's all good.
And then God Only Knows, everyone knows the. That's pretty much it for that. There's a couple songs where I'll hit this. I'm thinking maybe like, I think Dance, I hit it just very minorly, but it's not really a pod, it's just
Yeah.
an extra sound. And then In My Room Again, it will be a lightly kind of a. But yeah, Pet Sounds and Golly Nose and Sloop will be the main three for these guys. Everything else is very much that era drums.
Yeah.
Cool tom sounds, lots of that, especially the first set. Yeah.
What about what part during the night, drum wise, are you most excited to play when it comes up? You think
Probably Darling.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just fun. It's a very up tempo song.
Just rocking.
It's very fun. Yeah.
yeah,
It's there's a drum solo in Pet Sounds, which is a lot of fun as well.
yeah.
And then yeah, probably those two. But Darling is just a fun. It's a fun song to play because it's so groovy.
Yeah.
Same with Do It Again, actually.
Yeah, they
Just
got a
playing it
little
to that kind
a
of
little
beat.
more vibe. Yeah, if
Yeah.
you wanna play that little backing and just
Yeah.
give people an idea of that.
And we'll have to stop it. Start the verse. And we'll go into verse 1. I missed it. See, sometimes it's actually good. And they add some raps as well as back kind of thing. But yeah,
Cool.
so it's nice having this not as just like a backing track that just runs in the background. Like I still have full control over when I can stop and start it. It's not like, oh, we're screwed up. We have
Right,
to.
right.
It's
So it
like,
gives
oh,
the flexibility.
Mike wants to do a longer pause. I can do a longer pause. I can do whatever. It's just another drum.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Well, thanks, appreciate it. And
Yeah.
anything else? I mean, sticks. It looks like you got a bag full of a bunch of different types.
I do.
mean,
I only ever use these though.
the Vic Firth.
Yeah, these are my favorite. I
okay.
do have some crazy ones. I don't know why I have these kind of marching sticks ones. That would be insane.
Well, you
But
never know what you're
these
gonna need
and
to-
then these,
Okay.
if necessary. But I really don't like. No one really likes me using these, except
Awesome.
for Matt sometimes because he doesn't like the drums.
Sounds good. Well, appreciate it. Ben Potter, drums. Sail on.
At the weekend dance, we like to show up last. I play it cool and it's slow, jump in when it's fast. I gotta dance, 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 now the beat's really high. Dance, 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 right down the spot. Dance, 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 now the beat's really high. Dance, 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 now the beat's really high. Dance, 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 right down.
All right, welcome back, guys. We're here with Mike Williamson.
Hey, buddy.
Guitar,
Yeah.
whatever he does, everything. But right now we'll be talking about guitars.
Mostly mistakes.
Well, no, but I mean, let's
that's
talk.
my main function. And then
Let's talk about what you got on right now. I guess this is the main guitar you play all night.
this is it. Number one, affectionately known as Beaker.
What's the reasoning behind that? You
I think the guys in the band named it. Actually, I think it's because it kind of resembles that sound from the Muppets, the character Beaker. Dr. Bunson's assistant. The guy.
Yeah, I can't remember what that sounds
Kind of
like.
a little
What is-
chirpy, yeah, something
okay. All right.
something like that.
Okay,
So
and that's affectionate. Like, is that affectionate term for it?
it's questionable. I don't know
Okay.
exactly. I think
All right.
it's gently chiding affection. I think is
Well,
what
I
it
mean,
is.
but you're still playing it, so obviously it
Yeah.
does the job.
It's a workhorse.
So what do you got going on here as far as, I see a bunch of switches on this thing. You gotta
Yeah.
have to explain to me
Well, this is the standard Jaguar switching. The design is to offer a wider variety of tone. And so you have sort of preset switches This is actually a jazz circuit, I think it was called back in the actual trade, the sales magazines or the Fender, catalog. Anyway, it's essentially a, volume and tone control, but with this switch just, it kind of changes the EQ profile of both pickups. Basically makes it darker, because the idea for this, the Jaguar and the Jazz Master design of Fender guitars was to, I guess, to compete more with like the PAF pickup design or like the jazz guitars that were Gibson and maybe even like to get into the Gretsch territory of tones. And so this was all of that to say this is Fender's answer to that, this whole weird design with all these switching, which nobody ever
So it's kind of a catch-all almost, like
it
being able
really
to do
is.
a bunch
It's
of different styles.
Yeah, that was the idea, was that so this guitar with the switching would do all these different kind of sounds at the touch of a switch or the touch of a button, but no one ever really used these guitars for jazz or anything like that. And because what happened is the surf rock guys and the Beach Boys essentially playing these models of guitars ended up using them as kind of like a different version of maybe the classic Fender sound, so this, I've rarely come across anybody that uses the jazz switching on a Jazz Master.
So you're not using that at all during the night. Everything is
the whole night for me is because what we do is pure Beach Boys tones, and so I don't delve into any of that stuff other than I essentially use the two single coil pickups as they are. The standard Fender design, but I just keep the switch. I mostly use the neck pickup.
Okay, so
and the tone and volume control, which is pretty standard on
so no bridge, pretty much at all during the night.
Very, very, very rarely. Pretty much, I have my whole setup geared up so that I can keep this with minimal switching because, as you said, I am doing a lot of utility stuff and vocals. Yeah. So I don't want to add in switching
as uncomplicated as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I stay pretty much here on the neck because what I'm doing, Matt, our other guitar player, covers all the solos and the color parts and stuff, and so I'm doing the Al Jardine.
You're the rock and roll backbone
I'm doing the rhythm stuff, and generally the Al Jardine parts, which is just kind of, I'm just holding the changes or just very simple parts, maybe I play a couple of things that have some chord changes in there, fully voice chord changes, but in general, it's just kind of that old straight Fender, kind of, California Beach Boys surf rock kind of guitar sound.
What you need, right?
That's what they sound like.
And so what kind of strings are you mainly using?
I use these GHS nickel rockers exclusively and specifically because it's what I've always played them on everything that I've ever played, any gig or whatever I've played as a guitar player. I just favor those strings because they're semi-flat.
Okay.
And so it's a little bit of a darker tone, and in this case it works really well because it approximates the strings it's more like the strings that they had in the 60s.
Okay.
And but other than that, it's a pure nickel string and they're semi-flat, so it just gives that kind of vintage. I know that's a cliche thing, but it definitely gives the guitar a bit of a vintage character that I love.
Yeah, so. And tens?
Tens,
always.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Because just in case I have to do any, because there's a couple of things that Matt and I trade a little rock and roll lead part on.
And so, you don't have to work too hard.
Yeah, I don't want to, right. And it just gives the guitar a nice flexibility that's right in the middle. I've always played tens, and so I favor them on everything.
Awesome. Well, but it looks like you're using as well a pod.
Yeah.
It looks like it's very similar to what Matt's got over there.
Matt and I both use the pod HC500X. It's a full modeling unit. It does amp models, effects models, and cab, everything all in one. It's just, for the way that we gig, we like to minimize the variables, so this sound keeps consistency for us wherever we go. If we're inside, if we're outside, if we have to fly, drive, whatever, we put this thing down, one cable out to the front of the house. It's always the same.
Your sounds are going to be what they need to be.
And and it's always consistent because we do use in-ear monitoring, and so it's also the same. We don't have to worry about variables with microphones and amps.
You don't have to worry about an amp blowing up either, too, right?
So always. As long, we just take these guys straight out, put it down. It's the same in our ears, same going to the house. Full consistency.
And as far as the amp modeling here, are you the same amp as Matt's using in
59
his?
basements.
59 basements.
When you watch footage from the period of the Beach Boys live in the early 60s, they're using either late, like 59 or early 60s basements, matching in most times. And so that's what we do. Obviously, we have a couple of effects built in because we have to cover a lot of material in the course of a set. And so we have a few things, like I have a
if you could walk us through a
vibrato
couple
built
of those.
in for, there's a couple little chord things that require the vibrato. Other than that, it's nothing but just a little bit of a volume boost. And that's really all the effects that I have run. I have some very light compression that's just built in, that's always on, just to give consistency, and a very minimal, like a tape delay, just to, give a little time-based effect to the, obviously we're both running Fender Reverb units on the end, again, to replicate the sounds that they had and that they used both live and on the recordings. And then, I have a kind of a deep, a really long decay spring reverb for a couple of them. And a couple.
Add some color to it, yeah.
Yeah, like on Wouldn't It Be Nice, for example, where we need to replicate the very spacious reverb and that little bit of delay, because Brian Wilson, as we all know, loved the echo chamber. So all those records, especially around the Pet Sounds era, have a lot of echo and a lot of verb, kind of across every instrument in the mix. And so we have those patches dialed up. Other than that, everything's pretty straightforward. It's really pure, simple, it's from guitar stuff, because I don't even have any overdrives or fuzz or anything.
Right.
built in,
Well, I mean,
that's not my territory anyway, because on the night, I'm just playing, like I said, mostly the rhythm stuff.
Well, and like we said, a lot simpler to kind of bring that in, plug one thing in, then have to load a bunch of amps out, and
I'm far too old to be able to carry around a Fender Bassman these days anyway. So.
Appreciate it. That's the guitar
Absolutely.
set up here from Mike Williamson.
Oh,
Sail
Jazz
On.
3 too, always.
Oh, Jazz 3.
But this is the key.
I think I saw an
ingredient.
Eric Johnson pick as well for any of you who's out
an
there.
Eric one? Yeah, this is an Eric.
That's an Eric
one.
Johnson pick
Shout
right there.
out.
So anybody that wants to know the secret sauce, it's
That's
right
it.
here.
Can we hear a
This
little
is the
little
key.
clips or
This is the secret. Yeah.
All right, we're back with Mike here talking about keyboards. Looks like you got a nice Hammond organ here.
Yeah, this is a
Load this thing in.
56 Leslie B3 cab model. Wait a minute.
Actually, so this is where the magic happens. If you're out in the crowd, you might not see what's going on back here. You might go, "That guy's got an organ on stage." But so tell us about what you got behind here. And
This is a Nord Electro 3. Very, very good for, actually the best in my opinion, replicating the vintage keyboard sounds, particularly of the period. The Beach Boys use a lot of upright piano, track piano, and all the vintage organs, Hammond B3.
right.
Mostly, and so the Nord does all of those sounds impeccably.
Oh, and such a compact kind of
And
little instrument
this is-
too.
yeah,
So this is the 60.
this is
This is the 61.
The Electro 3 61 with everything built in right on deck, so all the switching is readily available right here, and it's great.
And it
Love this keyboard.
looks like that you're able to kind of pre-program, kind of like you are able to do with this pod here, kind of pre-program a song, what you need, and then just
Exactly.
kind of run through a library.
That's what I do. I mean, as you can see, I've got my program list taped right here handily, so I'll know how to keep track of everything. But yeah, because we cover a whole greatest hits of the Beach Boys material, I have to have a lot of different sounds, because the organs vary widely sonically. Like for Catch a Wave has a really kind of that carnival calliope sound with the drawbar set up on it.
Right.
And then then there's other stuff with like the little Honda organ with the full rotary and the vibrato going. So rather than having to do all that switching via, foot switches and everything on
it would be
wheel through,
impossible to have to do that. Yeah.
everything's programmed on one switch, one
Right.
button. So I just go song to song. And even in the context of within a song, like if we get up in the later reaches of the set, like for Good Vibrations, I've got flutes. Because the Nord is also a sampling keyboard, so you can load other sounds that aren't just traditional keyboard sounds. And this, I have a vintage Mellotron flute sound in, which can then immediately be switched to kind of a like a Farfisa type organ sound, which replicates the theremin, because I can't operate a real theremin.
Right, and then the kind of
On
theremin
stage.
sounds you can find on keyboards that aren't the
It's
greatest
tough.
to load in because of that
it's
that
a
kind of
really
modulation
hard,
it needs.
Yeah, and it's a very hard sample to get exactly right because of all the different characteristics that are so specific to a theremin.
Right.
And so I have like just kind of a weird, heavily affected Farfisa organ sound for that, and a couple things like that. And like for the strings, for instance, on let's say like God Only Knows. Mellotron strings again.
Yeah, it sounds nice and super
because
warm.
they're very warm. Yeah, like because those Mellotron strings were, I guess it was a tape loop keyboard. So it was a real analog sample, and this keyboard does all that stuff all in one unit. So, and then you got a boost on the floor.
Also see you got a boost there, and is that just for solo purposes
We
during
try
the
to
night,
keep
or
dynamics on stage as much as we can to keep it out of the front of house, because there's so much going on with the vocal harmony band that the front of house engineer needs to be aware of if he wants to do any changes. So we try to keep all the instrument solos and things like that on stage with us, so that we do boosts and things like that. So the front of house engineer doesn't have to chase around this guitar solo and then move to another vocal and trying to balance all that kind of stuff. So that boost pedal is just strictly to give me the control to get the volume up for if I have a solo or something, because there's a couple little solos that I cover, which is what we try to do. We
Right.
try to keep things as the moving parts
But,
as minimal as possible.
there's
because
some
there are a
times
lot.
where you might be even playing guitar and keyboards at the same time.
Yeah,
right?
I have to switch out a couple little parts because I play a lot of the utility, because we have, you over there covering all the actual keyboard
I don't know who you're
parts.
talking about.
Paul Runyon, the
I
guy.
know.
Keys one, the principal.
Oh, we're gonna have to be
keyboardist
talking to
himself.
him a little bit
You will.
later,
You'll-
so,
he's
Yeah.
the really musical guy, and so he covers the actual hard parts and all the other stuff, the utility grab bag. Even whether it's guitar and even some hand percussion and
you got a few
Yeah.
little
So-
bells and whistles here.
I just do all the other stuff that's necessary to the arrangement, and this keyboard as a workstation is really, really handy for that.
Awesome. Well, I think there's one last kind of trick of the trade that we've got to show people. Is I see a little snack you got behind there. Just is that to keep you?
These are just to keep us inspired
during the show. Just to make do you get a little hungry or
sometimes, because there's a couple of moments like where I actually have a breath where I can duck down, and that's actually why we built these shells.
to hide food.
Yeah, so that we can hide Chex Mix and various snacks and accoutrement behind here. Oh yeah.
I guess while you're playing tambourine, eating Chex Mix, got guitar on, it's hard to remember lyrics.
This is very true.
This is I guess just something you put on there just to give you a little reminder.
Yeah, this is this is so prone to accident and mistake that I had to make these a permanent part of the keyboard setup so that I would always get the words on Catch a Wave right. And it works about 90% of the time. So.
Well, there's nothing bad. That's why you got this here, so people can't really see what you got going on there. They're like, he's reading something.
People on the balcony know that, yeah.
No, there's no one ever.
Thinking about mounting a teleprompter somewhere down here or something like that.
Well, but most people use them nowadays, so.
Yeah. You want any Chex Mix, by the way?
I like it, yeah, I'm gonna take a little bit. I'm gonna leave some for the show,
Sure.
Make sure that there's some left. Yeah. Well, we're gonna finish this Chex Mix here, and we'll see
Thanks
you
for
guys
taking the
later.
time.
Mike Williamson.
We'll all be gone for the summer. We run so far
guys, we're back here. We're Wyatt Funderburk here, bass player extraordinaire from Sail On.
What's up?
Going to talk about his guitar and rig here. Looks like this is your number one bass here, a little Fender.
Yeah, you know, I've got this bass here from the year 2000. I got this way back in the day, and it's been my number one ever since. It's just a, standard P bass. Doesn't get much more classic than that,
Yeah, nothing too crazy with it.
No.
Pickups, everything's just volume and tone. What are you doing as far as
Wide
that's
open,
concerned? Wide open.
and these are the only thing non-stock is the pickups. These are Seymour Duncan P bass pickups that I scratched the logo off because I'm not trying to. Until I get that. I got some paperwork and from
until they start sending them to you for free and all
they're
that.
not getting that.
Yeah, right.
I'm not giving them free airtime or anything.
Yeah, those would be Seymour Duncan pickups.
And then I've got the rock steady strap. You want to get that.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you're rocking, you got to have.
Yeah, that's
you got to
important.
rock steady.
Yeah, so
Pretty standard.
pretty standard. Nothing exciting to talk about there.
But now I guess we'll get to the meat and bones of everything down here. This pedal board situation you got. Just walk us through what all you got going on down here.
This is a chromatic tuner made by Boss. It's a kind of a classic. It's a
I mean, they make
stand
good
by.
stuff. It looks like
I've
it's been
using
stepped
that.
on quite a bit. So
That's probably my fourth or fifth one in the last 25 years. I've been using that same tuner, and then that's going into the old memory toy, just for a little slap back on. Really, just God only knows. Only use it once in the whole set. Hold on. Just a little.
just
something.
a little something.
Just a little,
And you like? I mean, the memory toy is something you feel like is a pedal that is pretty good for.
All I need is a slap back, and it's small. It fits on my little pedal board, and it sounds good.
Yeah.
Easy to use. And then going into the Sans amp here, which is it's a nice, amp emulation, tube amp emulation. Sounds a lot like an Ampeg.
Okay.
And it's easy to dial in a nice tone with. And
As far as the levels on that, where it looks like you've got pretty much everything kind of mid there, except for the
I keep it really.
the drive's
really
pretty
flat.
low on it. It seems.
Keep it really flat. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can get kind of nasty with it if you want to. Crank that drive up, but for what we're doing, we just want like kind of a clean, crispy bass sound.
Right.
So
So I guess just if you wouldn't mind just playing a little bit, just so everybody can kind of get an idea.
I do a lot of stuff that's kind of palm muted bass parts.
Little good
That
vibrations.
stuff, and then you got your pretty much the first set. I'm doing a lot of this all night.
Yeah, a lot of walking.
I wish that I could play with my thumb like Brian Wilson, but I'm still working on that. There's a couple songs that I do throw the thumb in there, but
You got to build up that callus has got to be
Yeah.
strong
it's a
on the
different
thumb.
world.
Yeah.
So I just play with the pick because that's what Carol Kay did, and that's kind of the sound that we're going for here.
Well, speaking of that, what kind of picks are you using?
This is not my pick. This is Matt's pick, but this is pretty much the same size. I use the Dunlop .88.
Okay.
Pick, so this is pretty much it's like a heavy pick.
All right.
So pretty standard there.
Get some of that percussive sound out of it.
Yeah, I switched to the fingers for a couple songs in my room, and for sometimes on parts of certain songs, I'll switch to the fingers, just feel out the vibe.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Pretty much stick with the pick all night, and
Cool.
it's pretty simple. That's that.
And I guess you're just rocking that one bass all night.
That's it.
Riding
Yeah.
steady. Rock
I
steady.
mean, there's nowhere to go from here.
Yeah.
This is it. I mean,
I guess with the white, eventually you might go with a
Yeah.
white kind of look too, but
yeah, we'll eventually look at getting like maybe an Olympic white, classic Fender bass like Brian played, like with the pick cover and the right hardware and everything, but it's pretty pricey, So
Yeah.
we're gonna wait until we actually have some gigs, and we can maybe afford some new gear. But right now we're rocking with the 2000 P bass.
stick with the sun. Well, we got mid 2000s over here. We
Yeah.
got 2000. So
Well, it's
I mean,
nice to have the all sunburst because at least they match.
Yeah. I mean,
Looks good.
Consistency is nice.
It's classic. I mean,
Yeah.
it's of the period, so that's good.
Well, what would be your favorite bass part you think to play during the night, during the show? What would?
My favorite bass part.
Yeah, like the one you play and you go like, oh man, I can't wait for that to come up, you know?
Oh, my favorite bass part, yeah, is probably Shut Down, because it's a little different, and I think it's slightly different than the other car songs and kind of rockabilly walking bass lines, because they go. You know, it's not super different, but it's different enough that I get excited about that. I get excited about that.
It keeps you interested.
Otherwise, I'm just all night.
Yeah, you can fall asleep doing that sometimes.
But
That's cool. Those little differences.
there's nothing.
Yeah.
I also like dance, 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 like Ben says, because I get to open up the song with that. You know,
Yeah.
it's originally a baritone guitar, but
Yeah. Let it rock.
you gotta
the
do what you
bass.
gotta do.
Yeah.
It sounds cool. It's
Yeah.
fun, and yeah,
Well, appreciate it.
yeah.
Wyatt
Thanks, Paul.
Funderburk again. Sail on.
All right.
Was living like half a man. Couldn't love, but now I can. You pick me up when I'm feeling sad. More so than I ever had. I love you every single night. 'Cause I think it's you out of sight. Whoa, darling. Dream about you all through my dreams are led. I love the way you're something like life in the love, you're precious
Hey, here we are with Sail On, the Beach Boys tribute. Looking through the gear and the stuff that makes the show happen, we got Paul Runyon
Hey,
on Keys 1 over here.
Nice to see you. I think it's the first time we've met, but
Yeah,
thanks for coming by.
Hey, glad to be here. Really, really interested in looking at how you guys bring the Beach Boys songs to life.
Yeah, well, I think Mike, might have talked about this earlier, but I'm using the same keyboard
Okay.
as he is. Nord Electro 361. All the different sounds you need in here at the push of a
Yeah,
button.
so what do you use? Like on a
Well,
typical Sail On, like what are you playing
So
principally?
for me, most of the first set, I would say, is the early car stuff. So, I'm playing a lot of the kind of just piano kind
Yeah,
of
so we're talking,
chugging stuff, just
yeah, sort of the upright piano
upright
stuff.
piano
Uh-huh,
sound, trying to be
sounds
super
cool.
warm for it. There's probably 4 different upright patches
Right. Okay.
throughout the show
Yeah.
that are all EQ'd. So like this would be kind of the early thing, and the good thing about the Nord is you gotta have the octave shift as
Great.
well. So I can
Right.
kind of stay in this middle position, but play an octave down and not have to
I see.
be trying to sing here and play down here,
Right.
which is nice.
Yeah, that's handy. I
So
see.
everything's an octave down here,
Cool.
but you can stay in the middle and feel like you can just sing right on the mic.
Okay,
So that
cool.
was kind of the early stuff, like Little Honda, you know.
Yeah. Sounds great.
So that's that, and then
But you got some organ stuff going on too, right? Because you cover all the solos.
there
am
is
I
some
correct?
organ stuff. So once again, the thing with the Nord is you can go in and song to song program drawbars, percussion.
Okay, so
speaker,
this is like the
reverb.
drawbars that would be like on a real Hammond organ, like
Exactly,
a B3.
exactly. Some of the newer Nords actually have
I see.
real drawbars
Real
on them.
drawbars. But this is just a digital.
This is digital, and it's got these buttons, which is a little more cumbersome. But once you kind of get used to it,
Yeah, so once you
kinda-
get it set, you have your B3 sound for that song.
right, and
So-
you store it. But like having to do it on the fly, sometimes you can accidentally hit the wrong thing because they're right on top of each other to go up or go down.
And you got your rotary control too, right? This
You
is
got your
for the-
rotary control, slow, fast. You can stop it. But
Yeah.
this would be kind of like the Surfing USA kind of
Yeah,
solo
let's hear
tone,
it.
like a.
organ song. It sounds great.
you got that,
Oh, it
and-
sounds. So these are waterfall keys, just like an actual B3.
It
too,
is.
Right? But-
That's the only the only problem I would say with this is they are waterfall keys, which is nice for organ.
Great
The
for
organ
organ.
sounds are great on here. But when you go to piano, that weighted is nice because
Right.
you can kind of feel it more when you're
Sure.
playing piano because you can really
Of
dig
course,
in.
yeah.
The water, it feels the
So you
plastic
just compensate a little bit with the way that you
Yeah,
play your dynamics. I guess.
right. The plasticiness of it,
Sure.
it's harder to really feel that, so you have to kind of.
But that's just something I guess that you learn to live with by having all in one because you got your organs and pianos all in the same.
Right, the pros are
workstation,
better
same
than the
thing.
cons.
Yeah, sure.
So,
That's great sound.
You know, you keep it, but so there'll be many different organ sounds. So like
Right.
something like for windy or something like that, if you're going into a solo, it's
Right. Okay. Cool. Sounds great. So these are all you got them all on the touch
all
of a
preset.
button,
And
right?
I go to this one, and you got In My Room.
I see.
You know, so
cool.
it just makes it a lot simpler.
Hey,
you
so
know?
what do you do? Like, now I know that you've got to cover some other. And I know this is a sampling keyboard, right?
Yep,
And
yep.
so you've got some other sounds, like for example,
do.
I
I've
know
got-
you cover some flute stuff.
I got
and
flutes
some-
on here as well.
Is that like a Mellotron sample?
Mellotron flutes? Just
Nice.
trying to use the real
Something vintage, right?
real stuff. So
Yeah.
like be true to your school or something.
Wow. That's great. This is kind of the ideal unit for what you're doing, all this stuff. It seems like with all the switching. You know, it's
Exactly.
Like you said, the only thing you really lose is the weightedness of a piano keyboard, but that's a sacrifice.
which is a sacrifice that
Yeah.
in a 61 key keyboard
Right.
that you'll live
Very
with every day.
portable.
Very portable.
Yeah,
I mean, all you got to do is put this in the soft case, and you can even take it on a plane. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And then I can
Yeah.
you can fly to a gig. All your
Yeah.
sounds are here. You just plop it on a stand and go, and you can pretty much make the show happen.
That's great.
So definitely does everything that we need it to do, and I think it works out pretty good.
Wow, it's great. And you got your booster controlling your solos from back here.
Yeah.
Everything right behind the shell.
Right, I
Kinda
mean,
models an old upright piano shell, I
and
guess.
the shells are great because it the illusion that it gives the audience
Sure.
is what really makes the stage setup kind of
Yeah.
feel right. If you just had two guys with keyboards
Right.
out here on stands, and it's just,
Well, again, I guess it's just a part of you replicating all the vintage sounds. You even make the suggestion with having like an
the
old
illusion,
upright.
keep the illusion.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it would be great if we could have a real Hammond out here and a real, piano
Right.
and all this stuff that the Beach Boys would have had on stage and stuff like that. But we can only do so much, so we try and make it as streamlined and easy, but still give the audience a good visual out.
Look is
show.
great.
Yeah,
Sounds are great.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, really, really great.
Will I first wanna travel the world? 16. When I'm young and free, where will it be? When I grow up to be a man.
So, Paul, we've taken a look at all the stage setup, the instruments, what goes to front of house to make a sail-on show happen. There's one more element, though, that we really need to discuss, which is the monitoring system and how we get all of these sounds out into the audience for this Beach Boys tribute show.
Yeah, of course.
So we need to take a walk over to your station.
Yeah, well, I'd be happy to show you.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So this is Mission Control, right, for Sail On.
Mission Control, it looks a little bigger than it normally would because we're doing some work here, kind of rearranging.
So this is a fly rack, right? This is a fly
Yes,
rig, a smaller version of the normal.
Exactly.
Right.
So the two X32 Behringer kind of rack units that are the IEM systems are pretty much identical here. This is a fly rack, so it's only got a 16 channel, which is all that we kind of run from stage to front of house to make the show happen. That's pretty minimal as far as
Sure.
outputs to front of house to run a show like this. So, but yeah, so we got 16 channels.
So when we say channels, what we're doing, we're bringing all the signal from the microphones and instruments and everything. It comes to here first
So it comes
before it
through
goes
us. So
anywhere else.
we've got a seismic audio split snake here.
Right.
And so it comes into us. Since there's no monitors on stage, we're
Right.
running everything in ear
Yeah,
monitors.
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So why is that necessary? So we got to get signal here because
Signal here because we're running all our own monitors.
Right.
We need to go through us first.
So we need a unit to mix for ourselves.
Exactly.
And then that just passes through.
Unaffected
To
the front of house, like it would be us just going straight to the front of house.
Got it.
But they don't have to worry about running monitors or anything. We've got that taken
Sure.
care of. Everything's kind of preset in here as far as for our ears, the EQs, the gains
Yeah.
for all the channels.
Now, is that for consistency? So that's because
Exactly.
no matter what venue you're in.
Exactly. We have like kind of an app on our phone that we can go in and kind of tweak here or there. But from show to show, outdoor, indoor, bad PA, good PA.
Right.
We understand that we can have the consistency of kind of being able to hear ourselves, for the most part as best we can every night, and not have to really worry about, a front of house monitor engineer trying to tell them we need more of this or that. So it's just like everything else here, the guitar sounds, the keyboard patches and everything. It's just about consistency and putting the same product out.
Practicality too. I guess that's where you've got all the sounds, as we were talking about on your keyboard, and everything's all in one unit. So it's kind of the same thing here for the monitoring unit. We keep it all the same. Everything's always consistent, no matter what we do, no matter what show or variables are involved. What we hear, which is massively important for a vocal group, right?
Exactly. I mean, the singing is the most important part
Of this Beach Boys show.
right? And the consistency of being able to hear every night is paramount,
Right.
Because having to do it with just front of house monitors, and maybe we had amps on stage,
Right.
volume's crazy loud. To be able to consistently throw out a good product,
Right.
singing wise every night is very, very, very tough.
So it's about vocal health and managing variables so that we can reproduce the exact same thing.
And as far
Every night.
as this bottom one here, I mean, this is the rolling kind of rack unit that we would
Right.
normally use for all our drive dates that aren't a fly.
Tell me about these guys. So these are the actual ear transmitters,
Well,
right?
so that's the great thing about this bottom unit is that we've got the split snake, the X32, and we've got the in-ear brain transmitters here.
Mm-hmm.
That it's all in here. So all I have to do is wheel this guy in, take the two kind
Sure.
of covers off here, and it's ready to go. I mean,
Drop cables in from the front.
drop cables
from the
in from
stage.
from the front, plug in power in the back.
Goes to the house.
The in-ear monitors are already powered up through this Furman power supply here, and tails just come out the back straight to them. So it's it's a ease of setup
Right.
is so much of what makes this so great to have.
It looks like a great system. And so you've got this pretty much refined. One last piece of gear. What's this? This thing right here.
That
What are we
right
talking
there
about?
looks like a Zoom recorder.
Looks
that,
like a Star Trek device,
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think it's a taser actually. No, that's a Zoom recorder that we put out front of house every show, and just keeps. Mike is kind of he's the music director, so he likes to listen to it and just it keeps us honest. I mean, it's like, oh, what did we do well that
Right,
night?
so
What
this is a
didn't we do
quality
well?
control
Well,
device. huh?
I think you need that because
Sure.
you don't want to get just caught up in doing this. You do the same show all the time, and so if you're not constantly, critiquing yourself or figuring out what you could do better, it can get complacent. And so
Great.
it's a
Wow.
good thing to have that kind of how would you say that push that you need
it's
to
just
keep it
right. It
you know.
is just a quality control management, and that's a great idea.
But it's
And a great
good quality
thing to have.
sound.
So we're just talking straight two condenser mics and just pick up the sound of the
And
front of house.
for what that
mix,
is,
nothing to
it's
it. Yeah.
it actually puts out a pretty good product of
Great unit.
listening back,
Great.
But so it's pretty, it may look like there's a lot going on as far as cables coming
Right.
in and whatnot right now, but it really is an easy, manageable setup that really has worked out, pretty good. So
That's great. Well, all the sounds are great. It looks like that you've got a really good system going here to be able to maintain a consistent quality product or performance, however you want to view it, no matter what the scenario is. And that's
yeah, that's
really
all you can ask
the
for,
goal,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, well,
Well, thanks for explaining it to
That's
us
behind the
all.
curtain here at Sail
Yeah,
On.
this
Just
is really-
you know, now you know all our secrets. So if I see you out playing and it sounds too good, I might know why. So
Yeah, so the only thing you got to do now is get all the notes right, huh? Get all the
this
music right.
This is the easy part. That's the hard part.
Go high.